South America, the Caribbean, maintaining the spirit of African humanity in their hearts and in their minds, and who left us this enormous legacy of struggle. We ask those Africans who resisted enslavement in the villages of Africa, who resisted enslavement in the shores of Africa, who resisted enslavement in those forts and dungeons, who resisted enslavement in the holds of those ships, who resisted enslavement when they arrived on these shores in the New World. We ask these Africans who ran into the highlands of northeast Brazil and established for 100 years the first free republic in the Americas, the Republic of Palmares, and their last great leader, Zumbi, whose spirit and sacrifice. We asked these Africans who replicated the Brazilian experience and went into the highlands of Jamaica and became the maroon-free communities. We asked these Africans who went into the backwoods of the Guyanas and Suriname and created free republic of the Suramaca and the Ajuka. We asked these Africans who went into the backwoods of Georgia and the swamps of Florida and moved with the Seminole Indians and resisted oppression. We ask these Africans who left us a legacy of struggle and resistance, the likes of which no one in the world has, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these Africans who created and laid for us a foundation of struggle and resistance that was passed on generation after generation, that was passed on to Harriet Tubman, who fought her way out of enslavement and became a symbol of freedom for all of us. Similarly, Frederick Douglass and hundreds of thousands of others fought their way out of enslavement. We asked those Africans who went with Boukman Dessalines to create the greatest revolutionary experience in the history of the world, the Haitian Revolution, leaving us a legacy, the likes of which no one else has had. We ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future.
Let us start our class with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Bhagavan Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Larry Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, our Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we bow to all of you. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, great Gurus, receive our love, receive our desire to love you more, to attune our hearts and minds with your great presence. Om. Peace.
Speak truth to the people. To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the minds of the people. Speak to the minds of the people. Speak truth. No difficulties, mistakes, failures. Claim no easy victory.
Reading from the Hosea, from the Book of Declarations of Virtues. Hawa, chief official of the high priestess of Amen-Ra, says, I am a noble for whom one should act, one of firm heart to the end of life. I am beloved of this city, praised by his district, kind-hearted to his towns. I have done what the people love and God praises. I was one truly venerated and had no fault, who gave bread to the hungry and clothes to the naked. I put an end to pain and erased wrongdoing. I buried the blessed, supported the aged, and satisfied the needs of the have-nots. I was a shelter for the child and help to the widow, one who gave rank even to an infant. I did these things knowing their value and knowing their reward from the Lord of Ma'at. In a word, to endure in the mouth of the people without end, to be well remembered for years and years to come. From the Hosea, the book of declarations of virtues, out of the mouth of Hawa, chief official of the high priestess of Amen-Ra.
When we lose our African connection, we lose our world connection. When we disconnect ourselves from Africa, we cease to be a world people. Without the African connection, we are a disjointed people begging for the entry into somebody else's house.
Ancestors upon whose shoulders I stand. I acknowledge my ancestors, the ones who came before and are still here. I acknowledge my ancestors upon whose shoulders I stand.
Unite, children, unite. Sexy zombie on your way. Unite, children, unite.
After session includes blazing new paths towards Africa's rendezvous with destiny, bearing witness, demanding change, crafting an African-centered agenda for change and development, all the while honoring my moral obligation to remember (19 minutes after 6 o'clock). Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us inside of the Africa Forum, Running African this morning. On the 107s, 107.1. On the internet at Iron. Welcome Akwaba. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Dua. From wherever in the world you're joining us this morning, thank you so much for being a part of the family. Remember now to pour libation for your mother and your father, and to pour libation for your nation, and to pour libation for your community, and to pour libation for yourself. Acknowledging your ancestors upon whose shoulders you stand. To speak the names of the ancestors is to make them live again. Speak the names of your ancestors. Another beautiful, 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 beautiful Sunday morning on the island. We are enjoying it already. Nice little shower of rain this morning on this part of the northern and the northeastern part of Jamaica. Scattered showers. And it's kind of a little bit overcast. Take it easy on the roads if you're in this spot. I'm not quite sure what it is like in your neck of the woods. But in the eastern, northeastern, and northern parts, the roads will be a little bit slick, a little bit slippery. So take it easy on the roads as you move through this morning. We've got lots to get through, and I'm going to be going through it, just what we're looking at this morning shortly. It's 22 minutes now after 6 o'clock. What a time we're living in, what a time we're living in, what a world we're living in. It's all kicking into gear. It's all kicking into gear. Full speed ahead. The global reset is underway. They told us they were going to be doing it, and they're doing it. Remember, nothing is hidden. It was all done in plain sight, openly, and in front of us all. With if you recall, the head of the monarchy in the UK was the one who was a guest speaker at that event a few years ago when they announced the reset. And here we are. It's full speed ahead. Look around you. Look around you. Pay attention. Pay attention. Be sure that you're not one of those falling for the plot. We find ourselves in a classic divide and rule. Wherever we turn, and we see these forces manipulating all kinds of events to justify fascist laws, to generate widespread fear and anger. And to others, whichever side we plant ourselves on, so focused on fighting each other that we don't see the strings attached, both held by the same hand. Both sides being played by the hidden hand, as the puppet masters and the puppet governments direct this global reset. They have been coldly calculating this for decades. And here we are. ready to fall into their plot and to fall into their trap. Be careful that you do not fall into their plot. It's a bigger plot. It's a massive trap. I know it's going to be difficult to escape, especially if you have already bought into their lies. The predictive programming that we talked about and then talked about again and are still talking about, playing out in front of our eyes, and here we are in a dystopic existence, wondering what's the end of it, and depending on them to take us out of it. But this was a plan all along. It's a global reset. These puppet governments have all bought into it. They themselves are being controlled, and their puppet masters are behind the scenes, and it's not who you think they are. But here we are. So look at the dystopia. I know. Doesn't matter your color right now. It really doesn't. White or brown or black. They have identified the human trash and have found a way already to enslave again. And all colors and all creeds and all classes are in the slave class already, and here we are. My own thinking on this is that once we become aware of what's happening, is that we have a responsibility to ourselves to protect ourselves, our communities. It is what it is, and we deal with the isness of things. Nobody's coming to help us. They're not going to help us. The elections are not going to help us. Doesn't matter how many elections they have. It doesn't matter which side you think you're voting for. It is what it is. It is what it is. The U.S. election that we are all glued into, so many Jamaicans became part of the DNC convention, and before that the RNC convention, and we think we have a horse in this race because we hear about Brownstown from time to time. But we do not have a horse in this race. American foreign policy, as far as it concerns the developing countries, and as far as it concerns Jamaica, Haiti, the Caribbean, CARICOM, American foreign policy doesn't change towards us with the change of government. So it doesn't matter if it's the Republicans or the Democrats. Our experience have taught us that America's foreign policy toward us remains the same. Doesn't matter. We do not have a horse in this race. So stop it already. And then locally on the island, where do we go from here? Keosauw community. One party sign off on the sale of our land and our beaches and our rivers and our trees. And the other comes in, strengthen that contract and implements it. What does that tell us? What are we to glean from this, and how many times do they have to do this for us to recognize that Jamaica PNP or JLP is a two-headed monster and the same coin, different sides, but a two-headed monster. One brain, two heads. So how many times do we have to experience the PNP going into Europe or China or Asia and sign our livelihoods and our future and our children's future away, only for us to vote them out and vote in the JLP, who comes in and strengthen that contract and implements the very same thing that the PNP signed off on. How much more time, how many more times do they have to do this for us to recognize that we are in this together, but that the responsibility to see the change that we are dreaming of rests with us, we the people. So here we are as we get closer and closer to the plan that they have for us. So everything that they told us during COVID, everything that we looked at going into COVID, everything that was discussed at the World Economic Forum, everything that was discussed at the G8 and the G7s, everything that was discussed at COP, because COP is also another cop-out. Whether it's 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, or even 30, doesn't matter. It's not in our interest. No way, no how, no sir. So here we are. They told us. And we're seeing it unfolding. We did in this space, and we're not going to work, and we're not going to be dealing with that today. But if you recall, and I suppose we can revisit, many of the programs that we did during the COVID lockdown, every single one of the programs for those 2 years during that lockdown, every single program that I did, every single program was entitled The Global Reset with a subtitle. And the reason why we were able to talk about the global reset is because they told us that this is what they were doing. We just weren't paying attention. And let them do their reset. Let them reset. But where are we in the whole thing? Because their global reset includes a slave class, an enslaved class. Whether it is enslaved by AI or to them. And who is that enslaved class? And our own leaders tell us that we are a service class. We are a service industry. What does that mean? Who are we meant to serve? And doing what? Doing what? We've got some decisions to make to protect to protect ourselves, our families, our communities. We've got some decisions to make. And in the same way that Rastafari became and is and came out of that need to respond to oppression and enslavement and colonialism and neocolonialism, that we need a movement, a people, a thinking, an ideology. At this time, at this moment, right now, to respond to the new oppression, the settler colonialism, the dystopia, the artificial intelligence in terms of the controls. The global reset, the neoliberalism, and the death of our people, our communities, our nation. So whatever that ideology, that thinking is, it is already palpable, tangible, and the moment is now for the coming together of those who think alike, who understand the time that we're living in, who understand the urgency of now. So on this August 25, 2024, as we take stock of the global reset and the dystopic environment of the dystopia in which we find ourselves, we're living the predictive programming. On this August 25 morning, if we recall nothing else and if we think of nothing else, let us think about our survival, the survival of our children and the protection of our children's future. We have already lost so much to them, whoever they are, the puppet masters. To which our leaders owe their allegiance. Let me take a break. Samson's going to be talking about some things this morning. We're in that time of year when we're thinking about back to school, going back to school. And this back to school process, wherever we are in the world, it is the same. For some more stressful than others. So back to school medical is what we're looking at this morning. And I want to tell you what that means, right? So we're looking at community medical consideration for back to school, scope and impact. Back to school medical for short. In other words, so many of us are affected physically, psychologically, and in so many other ways when it comes to this time of year. And we want to go through this with our very special guest, Dr. Arthur Green. Come around about 7 o'clock, he's going to be joining me in the studio. Dr. Green is a medical doctor. He's also a naturopath. And he'll be joining me in the studio this morning as we talk about some of those issues that confront us. This period of anxiety, social and economic impact on parents, students, teachers. Going to be looking at some of the medical and social solutions, including looking at some of the Ubuntu principles that can help us to get through. So we're taking a holistic and inclusive look at general medical and social concerns and perspectives for the upcoming back to school period. Going to be talking about its scope, as I said before, and its impact on parents, on guardians and students and teachers, as well as the socioeconomic and community influences and benefits by inclusion of the Ubuntu principles. We know, because we get it every year, the anxiety associated with back to school and the broader community impact. So that's coming up around about 7 o'clock, so in 15 or so minutes time, 18 minutes time. Last week we mentioned before, on the final night of the DNC in Chicago, we saw Kamala Harris formally accepting her nomination for the Democratic presidential candidacy. Looking very confident at the podium, I might add. Genuine presidential aura. Many didn't think she had it in her, but we saw that. We saw the eloquence. And many came out of that thinking, yeah, she can be president for all the people, as she said, putting country above party politics and people above self. They all say that, and they say it every time. But we're looking to Africa, and we see hope coming to us as Africans wherever we are, in the personage of Ibrahim Traore, a young man. He's 36 years old, displaying currently the courage and the fortitude and the commitment to restore dignity and sovereignty and self-determination to Africa and its peoples, wherever we are, in the spirit of Mwalimu Marcus Messiah Garvey. It's obvious to those of us who are looking on that he is mindful and respectful of our loyal and noble ancestors. Baika Boda, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba. Amilcar Cabral. So we're looking at what we're seeing in Burkina Faso. All the ongoing plots and the treachery against him, but he's standing firm. And we're looking at these younger leaders rising up out of Africa, rejecting cowardice and never under any circumstances thinking about betraying our people and their people. Not afraid, understanding that fear leads to cowardice, and cowardice leads to betrayal. A coward is always afraid. And when we are afraid, we become slaves. The words of our young brother, Ibrahim Traore. Have unwavering courage, he says, and unity to secure a future free from oppression. So we're looking to Africa. We're not looking to America. We make the biggest mistake of our lives if we're looking to America. We're caught up in the euphoria as if we are American citizens. I'm listening to my brothers and sisters, deeply involved and committed to what's happening in the United States of America, turning a divergent gaze from Africa. And yet here we are. In this space, we're committed 100% to Africa all the time, before everything, after everything, and during everything. And we say again, America's foreign policy regarding us, the continent of Africa doesn't change from exploitation, militarization, oppression, and enslavement, regardless of whether it's the Republicans or the DNC or the Democrats that are in power in the United States of America. It remains steadfast, constant, and consistent. This we know. This we know. This we are sure of. America's foreign policy of oppression and exploitation and foot on our necks remain the same for the Caribbean, for continental Africa, for Africa and its diaspora, for African people wherever we are in the world. Doesn't change regardless of who wins their election. For us, it is what it is, and we are very aware of the isness of things. We do not have a horse in this race. Stop it already. They make sure that Africa is so closed off from us, these Europeans and Americans, because they're all in this together. The UK is proudly America's cousin. They tell you, well, we know how that goes, right? An election from a king, but it remains the same. They are each other's allies and friends. We see, for example, the owner of Telegram. So many persons, who are radical and activists and those who are seeking for change, so many persons have moved away from the usual suspects, the usual social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook and so on, because there is more freedom, but there's also more privacy and less censorship in a space like Telegram. And so many times you're talking to especially persons who are dealing with issues regarding the big pharmaceutical mafia, the pharmaceutical companies, which is, what we call the pharmaceutical mafia. Big Pharma, when they're dealing with issues regarding vaccines and Big Pharma, that they can do this and have their research published in a space like Telegram. Their videos and so on in a space like Telegram. But so many other conversations regarding liberation that's not owned by the Zionist lobby. That in so many of these spaces, you can't say the things that you can say in Telegram. And so people say to you, well, I need to send you something, but I can't send you here. Are you on Telegram? And you say, yes, I'm Telegram. So, okay, go and I'll send you there. And you go there and you see the massive body of work, the research. So this has been going on for a while. I've always been aware that if I know about this, then they know about this. And if I am participating here, then they are monitoring me. I'm always aware of that because no space is safe. So I haven't gone out of my way to use their spaces in a serious way. But I know that a lot of people have been doing this to get their messages out, to get their research out, to get their information out. And yesterday, we're talking about how they all work together. Because right now, we talk about what's happening in the UK, what's happening in the world in terms of the fascist laws that we see being generated on the backside of the violence coming out of the United Kingdom. But this is happening across the world. The fear that they're driving into people regarding immigration and so on. It's all working together. And so today we're reading, and let me see if I can find that story, that the owner of Telegram, what's his name again? So he stepped off a plane. Pavel Durov, I think is his name. Right, so let me see if I can find this because it's everywhere. So this is the first story that's coming up is a Telegram. Okay, yeah. Telegram chief Pavel Durov to appear in court after French arrest. Telegram chief executive Pavel Durov is to appear in court today after being arrested at a Paris airport for offenses related to his popular messaging app, sources told the AFP. So it's the AFP that I'm reading here. Russia has accused France of refusing to cooperate following the arrest of the Franco-Russian billionaire, 39 years old, at Le Bourget airport on Saturday night. That's last night. Durov had arrived from Baku, Azerbaijan, and as soon as he stepped off the plane, he was arrested. France OFMIN, an office tasked with preventing violence against minors, had issued an arrest warrant for Durov in preliminary investigation into alleged offenses, including fraud, drug trafficking, cyberbullying, organized crime, and promotion of terrorism. Durov is accused of failing to take action to curb the criminal use of his platform. We're watching as this unfold. We're not surprised that this is happening to Telegram, first of all. X is on the chopping board in a way too, you know, because if you recall, Elon Musk is talking about freedom of speech, but he's censoring like crazy anything that is so-called anti-Semitic. So he's safe for now because he censors anything pro-Palestinian, or mostly so. But he was very much involved in tweeting during the riots in England recently, talking about there's going to be a civil war and so on, and he's doing a whole lot of that still. You know, what is being described by the puppet masters and the cult as far right or far left. Far right is an interesting term. Far left is an interesting term. It's smoke and mirrors. They're using it to confuse you. It is all one and the same at the end of the day. We'll have a conversation about that another time because we really do need to have a conversation about that. But here we are. So we see this happening to the owner of Telegram. And when I talked about dystopia, how many of you have watched The Handmaid's Tale? Is it called A Handmaid's Tale. Or The Handmaid's Tale. I think it's called one of those. Where they're in the red nun habits and the white thing. The Handmaid's Tale, I think it's called. If you've watched that, then this is where we are. The Handmaid's Tale. No, I am very serious. I know I'm laughing, but it's a Miss Lou kind of laugh. The Handmaid's Tale. That was dystopia. That was, predictive programming. Remember we talked about that before in this space. That was predictive programming. It's a futuristic dystopian novel, and they made a movie out of it. The author is Margaret Atwood. It was published in 1985. It is set in a near future New England in a patriarchal, totalitarian, theonomic state known as the Republic of Gilead. And it was which overthrew the United States government. You have to watch that movie or read the book. It's a series. When I started watching it, I knew immediately this was predictive programming. This is where it's heading. But then how would it get there in terms of how do you take the so-called freedoms or what appear to be freedoms? For example, social media is what it is. How do you take that back? But they have already begun to take that back because they are now in England. If you look at those who have been arrested, people who have been arrested, including persons who retweet, persons who go on Twitter and write something about what you're thinking. And so they're policing that. The Keir Starmer government has announced, and we talked about that a few weeks ago, they have announced that they have already set up part of their MI5, MI6 thingy to police the social media. Now, we're going to see how that balloons out. We're going to see how that mushrooms out to the United States, because we see already that whole sitting in Congress the other day about TikTok. And you know how I feel about TikTok. I think there needs to be some kind of censorship. But what they are doing is now trying to take that platform away from those who currently own it to use it to weaponize it for their own selves. And we see they have already started to do that. Look at the DNC. Look at what happened at the DNC. They call them influencers. But they have pulled all the little young ones who have some amount of influence from TikTok. They planted them in the DNC. Now they have them talking to the world, the DNC talking points. So it is unfolding before our eyes, and here we are. Predictive programming has made it so that we are not questioning the things that are unfolding before us. We are taking them to mean that it's development, it's progress, and nothing is wrong with it, because we have been programmed to think that way. And at the same time, they're taking our rivers from us and our woodlands and our watershed areas. So for those of us who would walk away from all of this and go into our woodlands and go by our rivers, they have blocked us off from the sea. For us here in Jamaica, it's going to be like really difficult to even escape, because if you look at what's happening in Jamaica, Jamaica is an island, but it is becoming a landlocked country, and I've been saying that for many moons now. Jamaica is a landlocked country, and they are fencing off Jamaica. So as you drive around Jamaica, which is such a tiny little island, you are met with fences and walls, not picket fences, barbed wire fences and link chain fences and walls. These fences are going up in areas around the island, because this is an island. So what is happening? And though they have sold these areas that they are fencing off to foreigners, it means then we really do not have access. It's more than access now. It's also a matter of security, of defense, of escape. So we can't even find the rivers. We can't get to the sea. We can't jump into the ocean. We can't take out a boat and just go boom and move. No, because we are landlocked, so we're going to have to take to the hills. We've got miles to go before we sleep. Let me take a break. Back to school, scope and impact. Back to school medical. My daughter, Nia Manifa Teishi, is also in the house working with Catania this morning, right, Catania? So she's your assistant. All right, so the production team is tight. All right, we have a lot to get through this morning as we get back to school, as we look forward. By the way, Nia, congratulations. Catania, she just passed two subjects in the fourth form. You see her there, She got a distinction in English and a nice grade in maths. She's in the 39% of those who pass maths in the region, and she took it in fourth form. So congratulations while she's in the house with us. Congratulations, Nia. She got a 1 in English and in fourth form. Very good, very, very, very good. And in the 39% of those who pass maths, and she did that in fourth form. I'm really proud of you, Nia. All right, and so she's here this morning because, you know it, girl, you're still happy work with your mother. And she's here, and worst of all, your father is here this morning also. So it is what it is. It's a family affair, but it's a very serious discussion that we're going to be having this morning. Dr. Green, of course, is a medical doctor, and one of the things I know, having been married to Dr. Green for umpteen years, is that at this time of the year, and he talks about it a lot, you have the back-to-school medicals. We know that. We also know that as a parent over time, with our own child, that this time of year is back-to-school medical. So what I'm doing this morning is that we're broadening that out to say that this is back-to-school time, And medical in this context speaks to what we have outlined to you before, community medical considerations for back to school, scope and impact. So we're looking at this anxiety. And I'm going to ask Dr. Green, as you adjust your mic, Dr. Green, what number mic you're on there? This is number what? Let me see. All right, let me see if this is it. Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, brilliant. This is it. All right. So, welcome. Long time we don't work out together like this, but good to have you in the studio.
Right.
First of all, so we're in this time. You of course, as a medical doctor, to go to the very narrowest definition of what we're going to be looking at this morning. At this time of year, a whole lot of it's almost like a rush on doctors and clinics and clinics mainly and private doctors, isn't it?
Oh yes, this time of year is typical with anticipating back to school. There's a lot of to do to get the medicals done and the preparation surrounding that.
Well, when we were going to school, we never used to have no medical like that. I don't remember that we had to do medicals.
No, not at all. I mean, those times your parents would just give you a normal worm out and so.
Wash out.
Wash out.
After mango season, senna and salt.
Right, and
herbs.
You have certain herbs that you'd use there, your senna and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And, things like castor oil and things like those.
Castor oil, I take one, you get a spoonful of something. Which oil was in that?
Well, castor oil is in it, you just have to take a small amount.
But we used to get one spoonful of something too, which is like, you almost had them a drench you. It's like a spoon, you get one spoonful of that the oil in your hand. Or bitters, it's a bitters.
Yeah, cod liver oil, which is
cod liver oil.
Yeah, difficult to swallow.
Yeah, but we do have to swallow it though. One spoonful of cod liver oil.
Right.
Sometime during the year, and then back to school after summer when you're going to a new grade now, proper washout.
Yes.
Right.
That washout go as far as involving things such as brook locks in some cases.
No, that is a dangerous thing, brook locks. Brook locks. Listen, I know all the Gen X's would recognize, and the baby boomers recognize. I don't think the millennials and the Gen Zs recognize.